Hello, my name's Debbie Morgan. I'm Director for Primary, and welcome to the Mastering Number programme. We're really pleased to have you here. To date, we've had about 6,000 schools engage in the programme, and we're receiving phenomenal feedback in terms of it having an impact and making a difference to children's learning. Hopefully this introduction will give you an insight into how the programme works and how you can realise its potential for pupils in your school. We're going to look at the aims of the programme. We're going to think about, as I mentioned just now, how the programs may be different in terms of how it develops fluency. Some key strategies that are used in the program, so you've got an insight into that. And actually, we want this program to be sustainable. So how are we going to make it an integral part of your curriculum? The aims are quite simply to develop fluency in number facts, and in doing that, we're going to develop number sense, so children have a deep understanding of number relationships within mathematics. So two key aims, fluency in number facts and development of number sense, which both will make a huge difference to children's learning as they move through the primary school and indeed beyond. Identify a child like this, a child that struggles in mathematics. It seems hard. Mathematics can be an enigmatic subject in which few succeed with disarming ease, while others seem doomed to failure. Some seem to get it, be able to do it, and some seem to struggle. Those who fail, the research says, are doing a more difficult kind of mathematics compared to those that succeed. While some progress to using their knowledge in flexible and fluent ways, others seek security in just counting. Their only strategy to calculate is to count. And we know that children that count are at risk of failing within mathematics. So we want to build confidence in children, know number facts, feel confident with them, so they're not counting. So the message is don't count. But what do you do instead? That's what the program is about. Because over-reliance on counting, in fact, restrains that flexible thinking. And many children leave Key Stage 1 still calculating with small numbers by counting. They don't know those facts and they lack that confidence with them and applying them. And Gray points out that over-reliance on lengthy counting procedures, it limits children's attention to those relationships, to see pattern, those regularities, and therefore it restrains. It has an impact, not just on their calculation, but it has an impact on how they learn mathematics. They're just on overload with all this counting. So, to summarise, counting is associated with low attainment and it restrains that flexible thinking. And so all children need to move beyond counting. There's some research around this. This is a piece of research by Karis Futsina, and she quotes Anne Watson, who argues that low attaining children can think mathematically. They can think in the way that higher attaining children do. And in Futsina's own research, she also found the same, that actually the good news is that lower attainers can develop the kind of thinking associated with high attainment in mathematics through explicit teaching, which is what the program is about. So automaticity in facts is important, as we've mentioned, because it frees the mind to think about concepts. So it's not facts or concepts, one supports the other. And it's critical to solving problems. If we don't know the facts, then when we're trying to solve problems, that just gets in the way. So automaticity with facts, it relieves that overload and it also supports problem solving. So how is this program unique? How does it do those things that it's aiming to do? What are those key features? One of them is to go slowly in order to go fast. We've been so used to feeling that we need to be pacey in our curriculum. Oh, children can do it, let's move on to the next bit. But it's not sufficient just for children to be able to do it. It really needs to be embedded deeply. I'm sure, many teachers here have experienced, teaching a topic one term, returning to it the next term, and you think, where's it gone? they've not retained it. It's not been embedded. I've almost got to go back to the beginning. And so you might well feel that the program is going quite slowly, but I would say just stick to it, because it will have an impact in the longer term, a greater impact by going slower than going fast. So don't feel the temptation to rush through it. Another thing that's a bit different is there's no differentiation. The aim is to provide the same experience for all children, because all children need to develop automaticity with number facts and really embed them. And they all need to develop that number sense that's deep in such a way that they can apply what they're learning, not just to the small numbers that they're dealing with, but have such a secure understanding of that they can apply it to larger numbers and beyond. Practice will be important to embed, but we'll do practice in intelligent ways that look at the concept in different ways. And the materials do contain follow-up activities, maybe for those children who haven't quite got it in the session. The idea is to keep them up rather than make them go at a slower pace, to keep them up with everybody else just by giving them a bit of additional support. And indeed, the reception materials in particular provide activities for small group work, not to do with everybody, but just as the new framework says, to identify those children who aren't quite keeping up and give them that extra support so that they can keep up. And also important in reception is ideas for routines and continuous provision, so that the mathematics and the play element in reception, the direct teaching in mathematics and the play element very much combine and support each other. So we want inclusion for all children and to close the gap on attainment. That's really crucial. So just let's look at these, at how we might address inclusion. Do we include children through an open approach? An approach that, starts with something quite open and children access it at different levels, and it allows for different responses. Or do we include all children by having different questions that are aimed? I'm going to ask this question, but I particularly planned it for this group of children, and it's them I'm going to ask. Or do we apply differentiation where the attention is focused on all, with the one mathematical idea? So all children focus on that one mathematical idea. It's stripped back so that everybody can access it together and all achieve at the same level. So I expect you've guessed it. The approach we've taken in the programme is indeed C, that all children will access. That doesn't mean that anybody's been left behind, because all children will develop the depth that's required in order and embed the concepts and embed the fluency that's required for all to be successful. So that's the approach that we've taken. So let's just turn our attention to thinking about Rec and Recs. I'm sure you've heard that Rec and Recs are important in the programme, and we would encourage you to purchase some in order to get maximum benefit from the programme. However, having said that, you can start the programme, and we would strongly encourage you to start the programme as soon as you can, even if you haven't got Rec and Recs. Children will be able to engage sufficiently in it. Online Rec and Recs are easily sourced and are free of charge, and children can get used to the structure of the Rec and Rec, and indeed other resources are used in the programme. It's not just about Rec and Recs. But let's just look at the structure of mathematics on this Rec and Rec. So we've asked the children to make 14. Are we wanting them to make the 10 on the top and the 4 on the bottom? Are we wanting them to make 10 on the bottom of the Rec and Rec and 4 on the top? Or are we wanting them to make 14 in a different way, maybe as a double, as a 7 and a 7? Well, it depends on what the focus of the lesson is. The key thing is we want all children to make it the same way, because we want the focus to be on the structure of the mathematics that we are all engaging and learning about. So if we're working on place value, then we would expect children, and we will be looking out as a teacher to see if children have put the 10 first on the top line and then 4 on the bottom. You might say, well, the second one doesn't really make any difference. The second one is got 10 on the bottom and 4 on the top, so it's still got a 10 and the 4. Does that make a difference? We think it's important that children think of the 10 first when we say 14, that one that we write represents 110, and then we write the 4 next to it. So they get into the habit of seeing the 14 as the 1, 10, and the 4 more, and it's written that way, so they're attaching that symbolic mode to the quantity value that they're seeing on the Rec and Rec. So all children need to attend to the same structure in the moment. So there's clarity within the classroom. It's not different things going on and children becoming confused, but they're all really clear about the place value structure of 14. So just thinking about the Rec and Rec, I'm going to move 6 across with my 1 push. So finger ready, pause, point, and push. Here's my 6, and I know it's 6 because I can see the 5 and a 1. So haven't counted the 6. I sabotaged the 6 on there. So that 5 and a bit structure is really important on the Rec and Rec. And I also know that 5 and a 1 adds together to make 6. I'm going to watch a little video now of Year 1 children with the Rec and Rec. And in particular, I've chosen this clip because it shows children are not just moving beads on the Rec and Rec, but they're very much reasoning about the structure of the mathematics that they are seeing. So here we go.
So this time I'm going to move 6 on my top row. How many more do I need to move on the bottom row? Jack!
It's 1.
How do you know, Jack?
Because I know what a 6 or 1 makes 7.
1 more than 6 is?
7.
So I'm going to move, another odd number on the top row. I'm going to move, Isaac, if I said I was going to move an odd number on the top row, do you know what type of number I need to move on the bottom row?
To make even.
Why would I need to move an even number on the bottom row?
Because 3 has to have a 4, and that's an even number. And 5 needs to have 2, and that's an even number. And 7 needs to have 0, and that's an odd number.
Okay, and what about 1? Does it work with 1?
1 would need 6. And that makes 7.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, so we've just seen those children. They're making 7 in that lesson, and they're looking at the various ways to make 7. But not only are they doing that, they're also looking at the structures. That when we make 7, we've always got an odd and an even number together. So that's deepening their understanding of the structures within 7, that odd and even structure. Okay, I said we use other resources, such as here we've got the Hungarian number pattern. And we're able to, this represents numbers with a dice pattern. So if you look at that, I'm sure you can instantly see that it's 5, but you can also see the 4 corners, the 4 yellow ones that are 4 without counting, and the 1 in the middle to make 5. We're now going to watch another video, this time of a reception class. And in particular, I want you to draw out the children and their fluency with number facts that's developing and how the strategy is used for that. But also, I'd like you to listen to what Zoe, the teacher, has to say about closing the attainment for children, closing the attainment gap and bringing all children together so they're ready and prepared to move on to Key Stage 1. So here we go.
Okay, today we are thinking all about the number 6. Can you show me the number 6?
My experience of the Mastering Number programme has been a really positive one.
I think the difference it's made to the children is the fact that all of the children are coming along at the same pace. They all feel really confident in their use of number, and I think that's been helped by, for example, the training that I've had on my use of gesture and using our hands and our fingers. Adriano knew that 5 and 1 is the same as
6.
Can we all say that? 5 and 1 is the same as 6. We use STEM sentences a lot, and the children they know all of the STEM sentences and they love sharing them with me. So as soon as I say, how do we know that this shows me 5? The children all repeat really excitedly, we know there are 5 fingers on my hand. And they love it and they're enthusiastic and they're excited. Ready with your thumbs? Is it 6 or not 6? Okay, I want you to tell your partner how you know. One of the things they really love is talking to their talk partner. So it gives them a chance to rehearse what they're going to say. It gives their partner a chance to challenge what they say, whether they agree or disagree. And we've really tried to get the children listening to one another, not just one person talking and then the other person talking. What was the number that we saw on the screen? 4. Can you all show me 4? Gigi, how did you know?
2 at the top and 2 at the bottom.
There are 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And how many does that make altogether, Gigi?
4.
Okay, can we say a sentence about that then, everybody? Can you show me 2 and another 2? So start with your 4. So we've got 4 is made of 2 and 2, and double 2 is 4. Can you put your fingers together to prove to me that that's a double? Have your fingers got a partner?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our double number. When we first started the programme, I think we were initially a little bit sceptical about it because we found from some of our baseline assessments that our children had come up with quite a strong baseline and the programme was going quite slowly initially. But now we're reaping the benefits of that because that's when it brought along all of the other children, got them all to a very similar level. And now they've got such a good underpinning of maths now to take forward with them. Their ability to sabotage and their composition of number is all really strong now. And I think I can see how that is then going to help them as they move into Key Stage 1.
Sabotaging is what looking at a number and then not counting it and they know the number.
I'm sure you couldn't help but smile as you watched that video and how well the children were engaging and developing fluency in number, not just knowing facts but also knowing structure and using their spatial reasoning. You saw the children say identifying when it was not 6 and identifying when something is something and when it's not is equally important. And so we're deepening children's understanding by doing that and expecting explanations as to why it's not 6. But in particular, I want to draw your attention to Zoe, the teacher, and how she said that they all started with different baselines when they arrived in her class. But actually, she has taught them together. She was a little bit skeptical about going slowly, but actually that slowness has really reaped its benefits, as she says, because now all of the children have a really deep understanding, far deeper than any of them started with, of number, and all ready to move as a cohort. Isn't that exciting? Into year 1, having that deep and that really firm foundation for all of them. What a difference that will make to children as they move forward through the school. So just a little word about reception in particular. The program, the Mastery Number program for reception, will cover quite a large proportion of the EYF new framework, and it will cover all of the number aspects and all of the early learning goals. It won't cover shape and space and measures in particular, although it will very much integrate spatial reasoning and children's spatial language as a way to learning mathematics. As I said, it will provide developmental progression for the early learning goals, and it will also provide, as I mentioned earlier, activities for continuous provision and for small group work for those who are not quite keeping up, to enable them to keep up. and it will exemplify good early years practice. So as you saw, those children engaging in a playful way with number, using their subitizing skills, using their spatial reasoning, and making connections in mathematics. So I think many of the schools that had previously done it last year, they found that actually there was, just a little bit extra that they had to teach that wasn't covered in the Mastery Number program. And the Mastery Number program is only for 4 days a week, so there is space in the curriculum for those other things which are maybe not included. Ofsted, that's always on our minds, isn't it? Particularly those of you who are senior leaders attending with us today. And they're saying that for teachers need to balance introducing new content with pupils spent time revising the content. As I said, going slowly with the pace is important. And that's, and Ofsted have recognised that that's a real need and are looking for that within the curriculum. And also in their research review, they mentioned that, in high-performing countries, there appears to be little differentiation. Differentiation isn't necessarily needed for all children to make really good progress and to close that gap on attainment. So the programme, as I've said earlier, is taking the approach of all children becoming what we might call greater depth children. They're all going to go deep, and they're all going to become fluent, and they're all going to embed, and they're going to do that together, so nobody's left behind. So thinking about sustaining the program then, now that you've got an insight into the program, I don't know whether you've used the EEF guide to supporting change in schools, but it's a very useful document that I would certainly recommend to you. So in terms of this diagram on here, the first stage is that exploration, that purple element. What have you already tried? Why are you doing this program? What do you hope to achieve from it? How does it fit in with your school priorities? Have you included it on your school development plan? And then as you prepare for the program, consider your current provision. Do you need to make any adaptations, for example, in the representations that you use in mathematics? You may well be introducing a new resource in the form of the Rec and Rec. How does that fit in with the other representations you use in mathematics? Are you going to let go of another representation which didn't really seem to have much impact, but in your core set you're going to have a Rec and Rec now to use? How will you ensure that all staff have a vision and all staff know about it, not just reception in Key Stage 1, but Key Stage 2 as well, so that at the end of the year or next academic year when they're receiving children into Year 3, have they got an expectation of what the program's been doing, and to look out for that and to use that in the Year 3 curriculum. Timetabling, when are you going to fit it in? So Mastery Number schools have done different things with regard to that. We do recommend that it's a separate section of your day, that it's not just tagged onto the beginning of the lesson and used as an oral and mental starter, for example. It doesn't need to align exactly to what children are doing in the main teaching. What it will often do is reinforce and embed maybe things that have already been touched on in the main lesson. If it does happen to introduce something new that children haven't touched on, well then that can be continued and developed in the main lesson when you get to that point, and you'll probably find children are much further ahead than they would normally be on introducing that. So don't get worried about it aligning directly with the curriculum that you are learning. It's a fluency session that's developed alongside your main teaching, or indeed it does become the main teaching if you're in a reception class. And then as you roll out the program, as you engage in it, reflect critically on that. And indeed, there is a community to do that, and we would like you to join. It is part of the program to be a member of that local community with a local work group lead, because you're all teaching this together using the same materials, and that's really exciting because you can reflect and challenge and support each other and solve problems together. And then as you get to the end of the year, thinking about how you're going to sustain it, or you're going to make any adaptations, maybe as to when you're timetabling it, etc. Or maybe you want to also do some of it in year 3 as well. So those kind of decisions you can make, but definitely about sustaining the program is about embedding it into your school curriculum for mathematics. So just a few things in conclusion then. Bit of a checklist here. Make sure you've nominated, if you have more than a 1-form entry, make sure you've nominated in each year group a lead teacher. That teacher should register on the Mastering Number axis area, and there are instructions on how to do that, which should have come from your Maths Hub. And then working with other teachers then to support the planning. It's great to have a lead teacher to share the planning with others and to refine and support each other with that. And indeed sharing reflections and maybe even going and watching each other. Maybe that lead teacher invites the other teachers into their classroom on Monday to see them the first Mastering Number session of the week, and then others can go and teach that in their own classroom. So think about how you're going to work collaboratively within your school. And for the subject leader and the head teacher, how are you integrating the program into your school development plan, and indeed how are you monitoring implementation? Is the subject leader taking time to be able to go in and see how it's working in classrooms and gain a deeper understanding of it? If the subject leader would also like to attend the live training, then please do so. You'd be very welcome to do that. And so just some final remarks then. I've just mentioned that live training, you will have dates. You should already have your dates for that to attend. And when you attend, please do put in your school name in the Zoom, on your Zoom image. And we'll use that as a register of attendance so that we can see who's attending and who's engaging in the program. But just to say, the materials are protected, so they're only available for schools engaged in the programme, because the professional development that goes with the programme we feel is really important in order for the materials to be effective. So please don't share them with other schools. We are going to ask you all to engage, and you may well already have details of this in an evaluation program. The program is free to you. It's not being charged for, being funded by the DFE, but we also want you to evaluate so that you can feedback to us and we can measure the impact of the program. So that's really important. That will take the form of a case study of 3 children in your class who you're just going to monitor and just assess their progress through the program, not in any formal way, just through your observations as you engage. We don't want to increase your workload, but we would just like you to reflect and give us some feedback about the progress of these 3 case study children in your class. So that's really important. So look out for that and make sure you've fill the initial baseline in so that you can submit that, and then we can come back to you in the summer term and reflect on the children's progress. Okay, so thank you ever so much for joining us. We really look forward to working with you, and we really look forward at the impact and potential that this program can have in your school. Thanks everybody. Have a good evening. Bye bye.